Hello, gents. Thanks for listening to the Primetime Fantasy Podcast. And we know you love the podcast, but if you really want to love the podcast, you got to check out our website, primetime-fantasy.webnode.com. There's news and notes posted every day. I'm going to have articles out. Nick's going to have articles out. He knows a lot more than I do, so you're probably going to want to check out his articles more than mine. But even so, there's a lot to check out on the website. So go make sure to check out primetime-fantasy.webnode.com. There's a lot to type in. If you're on YouTube, you can check it out in the description below. Just one click, and you'll be able to see an entire new dimension of Primetime Fantasy. Enjoy the show, guys. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Primetime Fantasy Podcast, the PFP. I am here with my co-host Nick.
Back from vacation.
Back from the hiatus.
That was a stressful week of drafting, so I had to take a week off and get my mind right.
Yeah, how do you feel about your draft?
Well, A+.
A+?
Yahoo gave me a B-, but
Yahoo gave me a C-.
I don't buy into Yahoo grades. So I'm pretty happy with my team.
Yeah, Yahoo.
And you kind of had like a picture of my team up on the board so everyone could see it, but the thing that wasn't shown is just how much depth I got at running back. So
yeah, and I highlighted that on Twitter too. Yeah.
So I was pretty happy. What about? Obviously you got into the draft, but I want to know a little synopsis of your draft.
I feel confident. My wide receivers are not good. I'm really open.
Worried about Robbie Anderson as your wide receiver too?
I'm open him or, Metcalf or Cortland Sutton. One of these other guys can just, pop off.
McCaffrey's going to have to carry your team for the first 5 weeks.
Yeah, he's going to have to be my RB1 and my wide receiver too for at least probably until week 4, I bet. So today we got a little bit of news and notes. I'm sure you can imagine what the news is about. We have a fan question that came in, and we're going to go a game-by-game breakdown, all the games that are happening in week 1, starting from Thursday all the way going to the 2 games on Monday. We're going to cover each and every team that plays week 1. That's all 32 of them. What matchups look good, what matchups don't look good. So let's get into the news and notes first.
All right, obviously the big news is Andrew Luck retired Saturday night, and it's a little weird because I don't think they expected it to break because he was on the sideline with his team and yeah. It was just an awkward situation. The fans were booing, and it just looked like they didn't want that to come out. And I heard that they were going to do the press conference the following that Sunday afternoon, and it just when Adam Schefter broke the news, it just it just blew up the Twitter feed, and then everything else followed after that.
Yeah, and a huge classless move by the Colts fans to boo him as he's walking off the field.
Yeah, but that's also I kind of get where they're coming from. They're at the game. It's kind of like what happened in the NBA Finals when the Raptors, the fans were cheering when Kevin Durant got hurt. I don't think, no one wants to see someone get hurt and have ill will to them. But in the heat of the moment, that you may be drunk. You may be even if you're not drunk, you still may have that heat of the moment.
Right.
What's going on? Why is my guy quitting on my team? And I think maybe they got over that now, but initially I can understand the reaction.
Yeah,
if you're a franchise quarterback,
I don't excuse it, but I understand.
Yeah, it's understandable that the franchise quarterback, the guy that was supposed to win a couple Super Bowls, be in the Hall of Fame, he's not going to do that anymore. So it's a little bit of an emotional roller
Do you still think
coaster.
he makes the Hall of Fame?
No, not 7 years.
Yeah.
But let's get into how this impacts, the offense. Let's start with you. How do you think this impacts T.Y. Hilton?
I don't, Marlon Mack we'll start with T.Y. Hilton. T.Y. Hilton was someone who I thought of as a wide receiver 1. Now I'm thinking of more as a middle to lower end wide receiver 2. It's just because there's a lot of different reports on how Jacoby Brissett looks.
Yeah.
Throughout in camp and how he's going to look in the season. Some say, he's ready to take over the offense. Others say, no, he's the same guy that he was when they went 4-11 with him in 2017. And so it all depends on how he's able to play. But right now, I would be very cautious about T.Y. Hilton. I'm still starting him. He plays the Chargers this week. I'm still starting him.
You're
Yeah.
just a little bit lower on him because it is a downgrade of
It is a
quarterback.
downgrade, yeah. And regardless of how good or bad Jacoby Brissett is, it is going to be a downgrade.
Yeah, how do you obviously we've already drafted, but for people that haven't drafted or are drafting soon, Hilton was a third round, fourth round pick. Do you think he falls now? Do you think he's
I think he only falls
late fourth, fifth round pick?
I think he's more fourth, fifth round.
There's just other guys there that maybe have, better quarterback situation, higher upside. Like a guy like maybe Chris Godwin, who would be below him, obviously plays on a team that'll be trailing, needs to throw the ball, and he looks good. So there's maybe guys there that you would take a chance on that have higher upside than Hilton, because that is a hit.
Yeah, there's a lot more. With the guys that I had lower than him, and beforehand, they just have higher upside. And I don't think T.Y. Hilton offers that upside of getting you 10 to 12 points every single week.
Yeah, and I'll get into Marlon Mack really quick. Obviously, when you lose a Hall of Fame talent quarterback, that's not good for any offense. That's not good for the team. But I'm not as down on Marlon Mack as I am on T.Y. Hilton. Because the Colts have one of the three best offensive lines in football, Jacoby Brissett is not bad. A lot of quarterback situations, you go to, just bad quarterback situation. It's not like Jacoby Brissett's a bad quarterback. It's not like Matthew Stafford went down and they're bringing in
David Fales.
So I'm not as down on Marlon Mack. I obviously wouldn't draft him where I have him now. He drops a little bit, but he's still an RB2 to me. I had him as the ninth ranked running back when we were doing our running back rankings, but now he's a lower end, probably 18 to 24 RB. For me now.
Yeah, and they're still. It's like they're not losing an offensive coordinator, right? So I still think they're gonna keep the same kind of rushing offense going with him. So I don't expect him to fall too much, but I had him at 19. I think he would fall closer to 22, 23. So not that far of a drop, but I don't.
Yeah, the comforting thing there is they have a really good offensive line. It's not like their offense is terrible. They have a decent defense. They'll be in games. They'll have to run the ball. I think they maybe run the ball a little bit more now that Andrew Luck's not there. And Nyheim Hines is not like the prototypical running back. So it's going to be Marlon Mack. I see 15 to 18 carries a game easily. So I think the floor is there. I just don't know that his ceiling's there anymore where I had him as RB9.
I hear you.
All right, let's get into the fan question. This came in from my boy, Kip Rux, longtime friend from high school. Kip sent us a question.
You got a shout out. You should be thankful.
He says, what's your guys' take on tight ends? Do you wait till late? Do you try to go early, second or third round? He brings up O.J. Howard, Hunter Henry, and Evan Ingram. Garrett, what are your thoughts on tight end?
Well, if you're going second round, do not draft anyone other than Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce is someone who, and you're the one who drafted him, so I know how you feel about this. But if you can get Travis Kelce in the mid to late second round, that's a value. I know you got him early second round, which is right where his ADP is.
Yeah.
So if you're considering guys like Howard, Hunter Henry, Evan Ingram, wait until the fifth, sixth round.
I feel like that's the group of potential breakout guys, and that's why he highlighted that. That's Evan Ingram, O.J. Howard, and Hunter Henry. Those are the guys that, they haven't been in this league very long. They're still young. They still have loads of potential, and so that's the breakout, I feel like, tier of tight ends. So you think fifth, sixth round is where you'd start taking?
I drafted Evan Ingram in the fifth round, I believe. And so that is where that's where a lot of those guys are going to go. Evan Ingram was my third ranked tight end.
And I didn't know I don't remember our draft pick for pick, so I didn't know if you had a chance to draft Henry or Howard. So you drafted Ingram, or did you not have the chance to draft those other two? As far as when you drafted Ingram, did you pick him above
I
O.J.
think
Howard?
Hunter Henry was already picked, and that Howard had not been picked yet.
But you had Ingram as your third tight end anyway, so it's not like it was it's not like you were upset with that because you got your third round.
And someone picked Hawkinson a few picks before.
Yeah, that's one of those picks where it's just like
scratch your head.
Yeah.
Someone picked Gronk in our league. You saw that, right?
Yeah, do you think he'll come back this year?
No, he's
I
not.
mean, it was a real late round flyer. I mean, I would never waste a bench spot. Obviously, bench spots are very valuable. You've seen me. I've already made 5 transactions.
Have you?
I'm trying to make
I
sure
haven't been paying attention.
Yeah, the bench spots are valuable. People act like the bench isn't very valuable and they want to waste it on Kareem Hunt, waste it on, a guy like Gronk who's not even playing, who just had an interview the other day and said that he feels a lot better not in the league. So, that's up to them. But for me, at least, I took Kelsey 14th overall. And I don't think you saw that coming, but I kind of had Kelsey as like the 17th ranked player. And then I've done so many mock drafts with you and with Kip and with other people, and I just made the decision that, and you've seen it, I got so much depth at running back that I made the decision that I got my wide receiver 1, Schuster, at 11, and then I was able I did enough mock drafts to know that I was comfortable taking Kelsey at 14. But
and now you have a advantage at tight end every single week.
Yeah, given if he stays healthy. But
right.
But obviously, if you draft tight end in your first 2 rounds, you have to make sure that you can get running backs later, because my first running back was in the 3rd round. Mm-hmm. And so I got 2 guys that I have as RB2s. So I don't have an RB1. I could have an RB1 if the season goes on and they
Jones
they
or Jacobs breaks out. Yeah.
And Carson.
Yeah.
And so I got 3 RB2s in my opinion, so I think I can interchange that. But the advantage at tight end every week, not having to go through waiver wires, pick up the Benjamin Watsons and all that. So I was confident. I take Kelsey early 2nd round. I'm comfortable with that. But you have to be able to get your running back 3rd and 4th round, or even 1st round if you go running back. O.J. Howard, Evan Ingram, Hunter Henry, I have them all in the 5th, 6th round. You went a little bit early on Ingram. I think I would have address the wide receiver position maybe again. Obviously, you said you weren't as happy with Robbie Anderson as your number 2, but you can't go. These are the guys that have potential breakouts, and I'm high on those guys. Once it gets past that, then you're looking at. I like Jared Cook. He's okay to me. He'll be inconsistent, but then I don't want any part of Jimmy Graham and all these other guys that are over the hill.
And now Eric Ebron drops because of Andrew Luck too. I think he
was touchdown dependent anyways, and now I don't see Jacoby Brissett throwing 30 touchdown passes. So.
Neither do I. So.
He was touchdown dependent. He didn't have very many receptions last year. Everything he caught was in the red zone. So you're right there. He's probably outside the top 10 for tight ends.
I would have him around 11, 12, 13. Yeah, and
So if you don't get any of your top 5 or 6 guys, then would you just wait till the later rounds and just pick up guys? Or you like Jared Cook. So you got Jared Cook round 7, I believe?
I think so. So I have him as my 6th ranked.
So where's the cliff fall? Is it after Jared Cook? It's all right, I'm over these tight ends. These guys
I think,
I mean, it's hard to put you on the spot, but
I had Travis Kelce, I had Zach Ertz, which Zach Ertz is going 3rd or 4th round.
Are you comfortable in that? Or
I
no?
personally would not take Zach Ertz at the ADP that he's at now. If you can get him in the 5th round, great.
Yeah, I think he's a lock to be a top 4 round pick easily. So
yeah. So I had him 2nd. Evan Ingram and Hunter Henry I had 3 and 4.
I was interested why you had George Kittle 5, because it seems like
Kittle. That's what I'm forgetting about.
Yeah, it seems like the consensus is Kittle is even. In my opinion, he's the 2nd tight end. So I was curious why.
And that was a result of Garoppolo not doing so well, and I don't think.
But you were high on Garoppolo coming in this season. Are you down on him now? Because if you are as high as you are on Garoppolo, think he's gonna be a quarterback 1, then I see the same numbers from Kittle. I don't see him dropping from what he did with Nick Mullins.
I just think Ingram and Hunter Henry are more. Have higher upside than George Kittle.
All right.
And that's why I have Kittle. It's not like it's a huge drop off between, Hunter Henry and Kittle, but I think Evan Ingram is going to be, the top wide receiver option at least for the first 4 weeks
until Tate gets back.
And even after then he might still be the number 1 option. And then Hunter Henry is definitely the clear number 2. I feel like George Kittle kind of falls
You're worried about I'm not worried about the wide receivers on San Francisco. The reports are Dante Pettis has been up and down. He was supposed to break out. They drafted Deebo Samuel. They had Kendrick. They have all these guys that are not sure things right now. They're not Golden Tate, who's
Right.
you know what he's getting, 80 catches. Sterling Shepard's an above-average wide receiver in the league.
Yeah.
Whatever your opinion is on him, but I just think George Kittle's the number one guy in that offense, regardless of running back, wide receiver. I think he's going to be the guy that defenses will have to.
So what do your
focus on.
top 5 tight ends look like?
So I took Kelsey 1, Kittle, Ertz, and
Kittle's above
I'm
Ertz.
trying to remember off the top of my head 4 and 5, but I think I had OJ Howard and Evan Ingram in that 4 or 5 spot. So I'm with
Okay.
you on that. I just have Kittle up there at 2.
Yeah, so after that 7th spot is where it kind of drops off for me in terms of
Yeah, after
guys you can
7,
rely
8,
on.
then you know what? Just don't worry about tight end and just keep stacking running
Yeah.
backs.
And you can get someone like Mark Andrews in the double-digit
Yeah,
rounds.
so don't worry about the
Hawkinson.
tight ends in 8, 9, and 10th round. That's where I would That's where I targeted my quarterback, and I took a shot on Murray. So
Yeah.
I would worry about tight end later if you don't get one of those guys that we're high on at least.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into the week 1 matchups, Garrett. Thursday night football, Packers, Bears. Who are you high on this week? Who are you a little bit concerned on as far as their matchup?
Well, the Bears, number 1 defense in the league, I think. Everyone's taking them 10th and 11th round.
Yeah.
So one of the guys that I'm wondering about, Aaron Jones really doing well.
My
that
guy.
week.
No,
Yeah,
I want to
he is
hear
your
it. Yeah,
guy.
I want to hear it.
So I think the rushing defense is a lot better than their passing defense, especially with guys like Khalil Mack, Leonard Floyd.
Yeah, they do have a lot of
I'm forgetting the
talent.
guys who they have in the middle, but and so, I feel like Devontae Adams will get one over on I forget who their number 1 cornerback is.
Kyle Fuller.
That's what. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if he was their number 1. Or
He's
number 2.
good, but Devontae Adams is bulletproof as far as every week you're starting him.
Yeah.
So.
So he's gonna get pretty much not everything, but most over Kyle
Yeah.
Fuller. But Aaron Jones, I think he's gonna get swallowed up pretty easily. I wonder if Aaron Rodgers is
You think this is
affected.
one of those weeks where everyone expects every week 300 yards, 3 touchdowns. Is this a week where obviously you're starting Aaron Rodgers? You're not,
Yeah.
starting Dak Prescott over Aaron Rodgers, but you think this is a week where you temper the expectations? He gets maybe 280, maybe reaches 300 yards, but 2 touchdowns. He's not going to blow up for 4 or 5
Yeah,
touchdowns.
and I wonder if they send a house on Aaron Rodgers, trying to, because I know they're well aware
Yeah.
of his injury history,
Yeah.
so they might try to send a house and try to get him sacked a lot. So I'm not sure.
Yeah, for me at least, I'll get into the Green Bay offense really quick. Obviously, I have Aaron Jones, so I'll be a little bit of. I try to be, unbiased here, but I just think that obviously you brought up Devontae Adams. They have MVS, Valdez,
Yeah.
Scantling. They have Allison, Jimmy Graham still on the team. I just feel like there's enough out there to where Aaron Jones will have enough to run the ball because they are going to be worried about Aaron Rodgers. They're going to have 2 safeties deep. I like the Bears defense, but I just think, Aaron Jones won't finish. I don't think he'll have just this blow-up week, have his greatest week of the year. But
Yeah.
I think you're fine starting Aaron Jones.
I still think you're fine starting him too.
You think just temper the expectation.
I
He's
think
not
you
going to
gotta-
go for
you really-
102.
Yeah, and with everyone, I'm not sure. I think Devontae Adams is really going to be the lone guy
Adams
that
is the one
shines,
guy that you think
is going to shine.
could have a boom week.
Yeah.
Because you're going to get mid 15, 16 points, but Adams is the one guy that could go for 100 yards and 2
Because there might just be a play or two where, Bears are running man
Yeah.
defense, and Aaron Rodgers says, "Hey, go deep," and just sends one over.
Yeah, I'm with you on Adams. He's matchup proof. Obviously there's only a couple corners in the league where you're worried, like Ramsey is
Yeah.
one guy, but he's not playing that. Fuller's a nice corner, but Adams is
A lot better.
a lock for top 3 wide receiver finish in week 1. Let's get into the Bears offense really quick. Are you high on David Montgomery like everyone else is, or do you think
Not
it
week
takes
one.
him a while to
Not
get
week
going?
1. A lot of people that he was drafted. I don't know where he was drafted in our draft, but a lot of people are taking him in the 5th and 6th round.
I drafted Josh Jacobs. I think I drafted him in the 4th round. It was maybe 42, and I think he went 6 picks later. So he's right around pick 50.
Sheesh. I like the idea of David Montgomery doing well. I think it takes him a little while. Tariq Cohen is confirmed to be the starter. As far as what we know right now, whether that changes within the next week is, beyond
Right.
what we can say. So So I would, Tariq Cohen was probably a good flex play if your flex allows.
Well,
running
especially
backs.
in point per reception.
Yeah,
leagues,
PPR. Yeah,
that's really nice.
But David Montgomery is not someone who I would start at least this week. And if Tariq Cohen doesn't do it well this week, and they decide, hey, let's go to Montgomery, then maybe you take a chance. I don't know who the Bears play week 2, but
right.
maybe that's the guy you take a chance on in week 2.
I think it all depends on who you have on the bench. Like for me, I'll just give an example. I have Carson on my bench, and I have Josh Jacobs on my bench. So if you have guys on your bench that you're a little bit more comfortable with, like Carson to me is a lock for 20 carries week 1, then I would go with that. But David Montgomery is, for all means, he's having a great training camp. I think he will be the guy there. Week 1, I have no idea what's going to happen. I don't know, because I've never seen him in a regular season game when it counts, running the ball. So I start him unless you got a guy like Chris Carson. You got a guy on your bench that you just feel safer starting. So
right.
I'm not at all worried about the Packers defense. I think they're a little bit middle of the pack, nothing to be afraid of.
They did improve this year, especially with their draft picks, and I think their corners are a bit better. That has nothing to do with the running game,
right.
but
you would temper your expectations on Montgomery?
At least for week 1.
All right.
And then I wasn't very high on many of the receivers. I'm not really high on Trubisky
either.
Well,
the one receiver there to mention is Allen Robinson. You think it's? I mean, when he signed in Chicago, he was coming off the ACL injury with Jacksonville. So last year, I don't think he was 100%. I just don't like Mitchell Trubisky enough to think Allen Robinson can be a big time wide receiver. He has the talent to be, but he's not in the right offense. Kind of like what Corey Davis is.
Okay. Oh, all right. I wasn't expecting that take. So
well, I mean, Corey Davis is a really talented guy, but it hurts when Marcus Mariota and Ryan Tannehill are your guy. But we'll get into that team later. Let's stay on track with the Allen Robinson.
Allen Robinson. I think he has a wide receiver 3 kind of year.
But he would be a flex play, you think, week 1, right?
I'd play him week 1. I think he's gonna be not great, but I think he'll be just fine versus the corners that they have, and I think they're going to run zone more than man.
Yeah.
I don't know what the Packers' schemes are going to look like, but I would imagine that Allen Robinson will have a big catch here and there, but not too much.
Yeah, just
more than
another
that.
Guy who he's inconsistent, so that's why he's a flex play at best.
And this isn't fantasy talk, but Mitchell Trubisky is going to be what holds that team back, I think.
I think he's okay, but I don't think he's kind of like, to me, he's like a Dak Prescott where the team around him is very nice. They're very comparable to the Cowboys.
Right.
Nice defense. Okay. I feel like Trubisky needs the running game like Prescott does to stabilize the lack thereof ability to throw 40 times a game. So, I mean, obviously, I'm not as high on Trubisky. He's okay. He can win you games. But, they won last year because their defense was so great. So
yeah.
All right, let's get into the second game, the Chiefs and Jaguars.
And the Sunday games, yeah.
Let's get into the Chiefs really quick. Are you worried about Tyreek Hill? Because I feel like Jalen Ramsey will be all over Tyreek Hill.
Jalen Ramsey will 100% be sure all over Tyreek Hill. Just a returner. Those comments are going to resurface again. It's going to be a very personal rivalry. I wouldn't be surprised if a fight or two breaks out between those guys. Because they're both.
Imagine checking your updates on their fantasy lineup, and quarter 1, and Tyreek Hill's ejected from the game.
That's what I'm scared of. I would still start him because I think.
Yeah, Ramsey's one of those guys that he's probably the best talent corner in the league, and he trash talks a lot.
Yeah.
So he gets under guys' skins. AJ Green's one of those guys that's not he's kind of like Calvin Johnson, really quiet stuff, but AJ Green actually got in a fight with him. He just lost his cool. So.
Yeah, Jalen Ramsey knows, and so.
But obviously, you're starting Tyreek Hill. You're not benching Tyreek Hill.
I would not bench Tyreek Hill.
The thing I like about Hill is just the big play upside. There could be a busted play on defense. One time, that's all you need is one play to bust, and you get 70-yard touchdown. So
yeah, and he's talented enough to go around and, like a returner, go and dodge people. Similar to Barry Sanders back in the day.
Yeah, it's just a tough matchup for Hill. So don't expect, 30 points week 1. Why didn't he give me 30 points? Well, it's tough going at Jacksonville, right? And defense is legit.
Yeah, and Patrick Mahomes, I think will be just fine. I'm not.
You're not at all worried about that Jacksonville defense?
I'm more worried about the Bears defense against Rodgers than I am about the Jaguars against Mahomes.
I think this is one of those games where every week there's kind of a game where there's an upset, right? This team beats the other team. I think this is a game where people are going to be sleeping on the Jaguars defense, which is legit, which is top 3 in the league.
Yeah.
And they're all going to be expecting Mahomes to go out throw 5 touchdowns because he's
He's not going
great.
to throw 5 touchdowns, but
I think this is one of those games where it could be an upset and not as high scoring as you would think. Maybe
Okay.
in the 20s for each team, but
And I don't-
obviously you start Mahomes.
yeah, and I still don't know what the running back situation. Now I'm hearing about this guy Darwin Thompson.
Yeah.
Now I'm hearing that he's going to be the big PPR guy to look for. I have no idea what to think about any of the running backs, so
Yeah,
I'm just
Damian
going to
Williams
avoid.
if you're an owner of Damian Williams, you don't want to hear that.
Yeah.
As far as them hyping up a young guy they just drafted, so
Yeah, and I keep hearing about Mecole Hardman. He's one of the receivers there too. I wouldn't start him.
no, he's a guy he's basically Tyreek Hill, but he's not established in that offense yet.
Yeah,
That's kind of
so-
the player he is. He's small, fast, and he's kind of like a Tyreek Hill type player. Obviously, I don't have any concern with Travis Kelce. I like the linebackers there, but I like the cornerbacks better. So I feel like Mahomes is going to have to get the ball out quick, and I like Travis Kelce's week 1 matchup.
Yeah, if there's the play with Miles Jack on Travis Kelce, you might as well book it. You might as well. So
And-
Miles Jack is fast, but
All right, let's quickly get into Fournette. Are you concerned? I'm not at all concerned about Kansas City's defense.
you're not at all concerned.
No, not at all.
Well,
That
they lost a
defense-
few pieces this year, didn't they?
Well, yeah, they added Frank Clark on the defensive end, but they lost D Ford. I'm just not concerned about them. You've seen it last year in Kansas City against New England. New England just ran the ball all over them.
Okay.
And I get it was colder out and it was one of those later games in the year, but Fournette, if he has a bad game week 1, I would be concerned because the matchup is friendly for Fournette in week 1.
You know the reaction he's going to get when Fournette goes off against Kansas City, right? They're like, oh, he's back.
Yeah,
he's back. So
I just feel like if Fournette does not have a good week, I'm not saying he has to have a great week, 200 yard drive, have one of those historic weeks, but if he doesn't have 100 yards and a touchdown on the ground, I would be disappointed because Kansas City's defense is nothing to write home about.
yeah, and similar to that, the Jacksonville offensive passing game is nothing to write home about either. It's
Well, I mean, this is not bias, all right?
Okay.
Because obviously I traded for D.D. Westbrook.
you
but
did.
You need to catch up on the league.
I don't get alerts on trades around the
No,
league.
but just John DiFilippo, he was in Minnesota with Stephon Diggs, and he said, Stephon Diggs and Adam Thielen, he said those guys were great route runners, but D.D. Westbrook was the best route runner he's ever been around in his entire career coaching, which is obviously positive news to hear. Nick Foles is obviously an upgrade over Blake Bortles. I think what my strategy here is I think D.D. Westbrook, I told you earlier, he's a sleeper for me. I think he's in line for 80 catches this year, and so he's a good PPR play at the
You
flex.
traded Eckler for Westbrook.
Yeah, now you're getting the alerts.
That's not bad. That's not bad.
I just think that you have to do what your team is, right? You have to look at your team and say, what am I comfortable giving up? Because you have to give up an asset to get something.
Yeah.
And I was never giving up Chris Carson.
Okay.
I like Eckler. I don't want to get rid of him, but it was between Eckler and Carson.
And you're a lot higher on Justin Jackson than most people.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I just made the move where I had to give up something, but I just think, maybe the chance of Melvin Gordon returning, Justin Jackson there, Eckler maybe limited a little bit,
Yeah.
and more is Chris Carson getting 18, 20 carries a game. So I just think D.D. Westbrook is a fine flex play every week. I don't think he's much more than that. And if he has a good week, good, he's at your flex option. But
Do you think he does well this first week?
yeah, because I'm not really
Okay.
concerned about Kansas City yet. But well for me is 8 catches, 80 yards. And
Yeah.
if he gets to the touchdown, that's a bonus.
Right.
And that's why PPR is so nice because if you get a guy like Golden Tate, a guy that you're going to get 7, 8 catches from, that's just a floor there that you're comfortable starting at your flex.
Yeah. And so I got to, a lot of these offenses, and you'll hear me repeat this a lot. I got to see it before I believe it. But yeah, D.D. Westbrook, someone I didn't really think about, but I think is going to end up being
Yeah,
a nice option
I think
for
he's a
it.
flex play week 1.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into the Falcons at the Vikings. Are you at all concerned about you? Okay, let's get into Devontae Freeman first because he's your guy for the year. What are
Yeah.
your thoughts on week 1? That's a good
Well,
defense.
I
in
am
Minnesota.
going to start him. And I guess it is a little ironic how we start with probably the top 3 defenses back to back to back. But I think Freeman's going to end up having an all right week. I don't imagine him to get 100 yards and a touchdown or whatever, but I imagine 80 yards, maybe a catch here and there. I don't know what.
And a concussion. No, I don't.
Hopefully not.
I don't want to. See, I don't celebrate people getting hurt. I'm just. Don't be surprised if he gets a concussion because
He's just
warned
joshing
you.
me.
I've warned you about his concussion history.
All right,
so when we're here week 2 and he has a concussion.
Yeah, if you
I
hear
warned you.
sad Pog in 2 weeks.
I don't celebrate people getting hurt, and so I'm just warning you, right?
Yeah.
But you think 80, not 100 total yards receiving and rushing combined? You think he's a safe RB2 week 1?
He's a safe RB2. I think he might just get around like 9 or 10 points. He's not gonna blow the roof off with like 24 points or something like I'm expecting McCaffrey to get. But yeah, I think he's a safe RB2 this first week. Vikings defense, I'm curious to see how they are. Their rushing attack is. Their defensive rushing, I should say. And then Matt Ryan is someone who I feel is gonna.
You think he's in a good matchup here?
I think so. I don't know. I forgot who they have at corner. But,
well, the only real concern at corner is his name's escaping me right now.
He's the Michigan State guy.
Xavier Rhodes. No, not the Michigan
Rhodes.
State guy.
Oh,
Rhodes.
yeah.
Rhodes is the guy. Trey Waynes is a Michigan State guy, but Rhodes is a good corner. But obviously Julio Jones is Julio Jones.
Julio Jones is going to do
and
his
hopefully, in regards to some of my options, I have Calvin Ridley running the slot, catching 8-10 balls.
I think the passing offense is going to look a lot better than the rushing offense, similar to what I mentioned with the Packers offense. So I think Freeman's still a start. I still think, everyone in the passing offense, I don't know if you're not starting.
Julio would be a wide receiver 1 start, obviously, every week. He's
Calvin Ridley's a flex start.
Adams. Ridley, to me, is a flex start. And
possibly wide receiver 2 if you're lacking in that end. But
yeah, and I'm not high on Hooper. I think he's one of those guys that you're picking up off waivers. You're starting maybe if you're struggling there.
Round,
he's one of those guys who's a flyer, right?
Right.
You start him, and if he hits, he hits. But if he misses, you could get a 0 from him, literally a 0.
I think so.
And that's one of those times where it's just dreadful to look at your lineup and get a 0 from a guy. But
yeah,
I think Hooper's nothing more than if you have nothing at tight end, you just throw a flyer there. And
I agree.
Julio, wide receiver 1, obviously. And Ridley, like you said, he's a low-end 2 flex option at wide receiver.
Yeah.
And Ryan is a quarterback 1 because I just think that game's going to be high scoring and he'll throw for 300 yards.
Okay.
I'm not high on what's his name, Kirk Cousins week 1.
Okay.
I like Atlanta's defense, and obviously Kirk Cousins is a guy who's you only start him on matchups.
Yeah.
Where it's a positive matchup. I don't think it's positive there. I think they ride Dalvin Cook if he stays healthy, obviously, and. I like the wide receiver options. They're both, to me, Thielen would be a wide receiver 1 play, and Diggs is probably a high-end wide receiver 2 play week 1.
Yeah, and both of them, I feel like everybody in the offense is going to do like middle of the pack besides Cousins. I'm not sure how good Cousins does compared to others, but I think the Atlanta defense is good enough where they can slow down some of these. They can slow down some of the options in Minnesota and. Yeah, I don't.
Do you think Dalvin Cook's in for a good game, or do you think?
I think he's in for an average game. I don't think anyone comes out here and does, supremely better than everyone else. Like Devontae Adams or DeAndre Hopkins. But I think everybody kind of does middle of the pack.
They're startable at where they're at right now.
I think
you would start Thielen as a low end wide receiver 1, high end wide receiver 2.
Yeah, I think both.
Diggs is a wide receiver 2. There's no real oh man, this is a bad matchup. Like the bad matchup for me is Kirk Cousins. I just don't see him going off this week.
Yeah, and I wouldn't recommend drafting Kirk Cousins, but this guy, he is still.
Well, the only reason why I drafted Cousins, and I explained to you and I explained to everyone else, is when you draft a Lamar Jackson, Kyler Murray, like I did, I got Murray. I just went and got a guy who is safer.
Right.
I'm not going to get big weeks from Cousins, but I can get 18, 20 points, and I'll be fine with that. And I just took the chance on Murray, so I didn't want to just have Murray and have to pick up Derek Carr off waivers and have to deal with that. So that's why I went with that route.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into the Titans at the Browns. This is something that I heard on Colin Cowherd Show the Herd, so shout out to that. The Titans, I don't love the Titans' offense. Obviously, we just talked about the quarterback situation. Derrick Henry, is he going to play or not week 1? I don't know. But the Titans have a good defense. They have a good defense. I don't see the Browns getting just totally beat up and they can't score anything. But I would temper my expectations week one as far as Odell. Everyone thinks everyone on that Browns offense is going to be great week one. I think Nick Chubb is great week one. And I think you're hit or miss on Odell having a big week.
Tennessee has good safeties. I can't think of anything else that they might.
Yeah, they got a good defense all around.
Can you name like?
I don't want to get into specifics, but
Okay.
you talk about safeties. There's a guy named Kevin Bynard.
I'm thinking
He's
of
an
Kevin. I'm
All-Pro.
thinking of Devin McCourty.
Yeah,
Or Jason.
McCourty's gone, but they have Bynard in the safety, and they have Adoree Jackson at corner, Logan Ryan at the other corner. They have good corners, and Jarrell Casey's one of the better run stoppers.
They do have Casey.
And so, I just think Nick Chubb is in for a good week, a plus week. He's a high end RB1 week one. I just think you may have to temper your expectations. Don't expect 400 yards and 4 touchdowns from Baker Mayfield week one.
Okay, yeah.
Like everyone just wants to have 5,000 yards and 50 touchdowns. He's not there yet.
For me, I got to see the Tennessee defense before I believe it. I want to believe what you're saying because you mentioned
So you're
names
high
there.
on the Browns
I think
offensive players, all of them? Or who are you, individual players?
I think every Browns player is in for a good week, including the
Beckham?
Yeah, I think Odell's a wide receiver 1. I think Jarvis Landry's a good flex play. I think Baker Mayfield's a good start. So is Nick Chubb. Both to be the QB and RB1 in their respective division. I find it hard to believe that like Adoree Jackson or like one of these other guys.
Well, they're not
going
to shut down Odell Beckham Jr. I'm just saying he's not. I don't think he's going to have a big. I don't think he'll finish in the top 5 wide receivers week one. It's just my opinion.
Okay.
And he's a wide receiver 1 every week. It's not like I'm saying he's a flex starter, obviously, but I just don't see him having the big week to get him as the top 5. You're obviously starting him, but don't expect him to be in the top 5 finishing week one for wide receiver, in my opinion.
I hear you.
Let's get into the Titans. So we just talked about this. We don't know if Henry's going to play or not. He's questionable. I'm not starting their quarterback situation. I'm high on the player that Corey Davis is. I'm not high on their offense. So Corey Davis to me is nothing but a low flex option.
I was ready to get into the Bills and Jets because I thought, hey, we don't like
There's nothing on the Titans.
We don't like the Titans offense.
No, the only player really to talk about on the Titans. Well, we just said this, so we can't. If Derrick Henry's healthy, he's a low end RB2 to me. You would start him just because he's touchdown. But I don't know if he's playing week one. You have to see week one. He's not a guaranteed start. The one guy we could talk about here, Corey Davis. I like the player. I just told you I don't like their quarterbacks. Yeah. To me, he's a low end flex option. Like if you really don't have anything on the bench. So I like the player. I just don't like the quarterbacks.
I don't like the situation. I don't like the entire offense.
Would you even start Davis, or would you just? Would it have to be really desperate?
I'd have to be really desperate. I don't know, because he's, in my opinion, he's in the same boat as Adam Humphries and some of these other.
You just don't think he's
gonna.
You don't think he's gonna get enough targets to just blow away from Humphries?
I think they're all gonna get an equal amount of targets, and they're just all gonna have the same stats at the end of the year. There's no one guy who's gonna blow everybody.
All right, let's forget about the Titans. We got over the Titans. That was tough. Let's get into the Bills at the Jets. We'll start with the away team here, the Bills. Garrett, would you start Josh Allen week one, or is he on the fringe? Like, is he in your top 12? Would he be a starter week one?
He's not a starter, in my opinion. I got to see him explode for 2-3 weeks in a row before I really value him as a full-time starter. He has the potential to do that this season. I don't think it starts right away. I think the Jets defense is good enough to slow him down. But I'm not so.
Well, yeah, I feel like Josh Allen's a guy who you just don't know what you're getting because he's not a prolific passer. He's got an arm. He's got an arm like Cam Newton, but he's just not as accurate. So you don't know what you're getting from him. And at the Jets have all this hype around them. I see where your concern is. Are you starting
any of the running backs?
No, anyone else on that Bills offense?
No. The Bills offense is kind of a.
I mean, depending on your league, if you can start a running back at flex, I would start LaShawn McCoy at flex just because he is going to be starting their week one. But like you said, there's nothing really there. And
I think Singletary is going to be the guy who ends up taking a job over around midseason.
Yeah, but I think week one right now, just what I've seen preseason week 3, LaShawn McCoy still looks like he can run. But that's preseason, right? But He would be a flex option for me, nothing more than that.
Oh yeah, I'm not too high on anyone in the Bills offense.
All right, the Jets. Obviously, I'm high on Le'Veon Bell. I think I think week 1 he's going to come out and show the league this is what you missed, because a lot of people are poo-pooing him, saying the Steelers made you. I just feel like Le'Veon Bell is in a different boat than Antonio Brown. Le'Veon Bell is not the guy who's got all this drama around him. I don't want to play because I don't have the helmet. He's not talking about Pittsburgh. There's no. I feel like people have this misconception about Le'Veon Bell. He's just doing what he's doing there.
Yeah.
There's not been all this talk about Antonio Brown still talking. I'm not friends with, he's just still worried about Pittsburgh. Le'Veon Bell, I feel like, has moved on, and he's going to show you guys miss me, because I like James.
He's going to be an RB1.
But Le'Veon Bell is going to be like, this is what you missed.
He's going to be an RB1.
I think he's going to have a big week 1. He's going to come out and show the league, remember who I am. So
Yeah.
I think he's in for a big week.
He's going to get a lot of touches, whether it be most of them are going to be rushing, but
yeah, he'll be involved in the passing game as well, so that's always nice.
Yeah.
What you drafted Robbie Anderson? Are you playing him week 1? And what's your confidence level? Are you?
I'm playing him week 1 simply because I kind of have to.
Yeah.
I don't really have a lot of options. I think he's a flex guy this week. I'm going to be playing him at the wide receiver too, since there's not a whole lot of depth for me. But enough about me.
You mean you're not picking up Danny Amendola off the waivers and starting him as your wide receiver too?
Or whoever, all these other guys.
So, yeah, that's basically the two big offensive weapons there. Obviously Darnold's not really a quarterback 1 yet, and
I wouldn't consider him a quarterback 2 yet. Has anyone picked him up?
no, Darnold's got to go out there and show he can produce fantasy numbers. He's a
Yeah.
better NFL quarterback than fantasy quarterback.
Right, and I think for a lot of these guys in the Jets offense, I got to see it before I believe it.
So basically, it's starting. You would start Robbie Anderson. For me, I would start Robbie Anderson as a flex option week 1, and I would start Le'Veon Bell as an RB1, no problem.
Yeah, so would I. I'm right in the same boat as you.
All right, let's get into the
Ravens at the Dolphins. Ravens offense.
Lamar Jackson.
Does everyone
I think
go
Lamar
off?
Jackson's in for a good week this week.
I think the Dolphins offense is the best option to have for not the Dolphins. The Dolphins
playing
defense
against the Dolphins
is the
defense,
best.
what you're saying. Yeah,
is the best option. For
I think Lamar
Jackson's
Jackson's in for a huge week on the ground.
Well, I don't know if he's in for a huge week, but I think
he's in for a huge week. The Dolphins are bad, like really bad. They're so desperate. They're begging the Texans to get Jadeveon Clowney because they have nothing on defense. They have Xavier Howard, who's a Pro Bowl corner. That's it. There's nothing else on that defense. If you have Lamar Jackson, start him.
I think
Lamar Jackson will be a top 5 quarterback play week 1.
Top 5. I'm thinking top 10, but I don't. Well, we'll have to see.
But I just think he has 90, 100 yards rushing week 1. I honestly, like, week 1 against the Dolphins, it's not like it's a bad weather game. They're at Miami, so everything should be fine. I don't see the Dolphins stopping them.
Right, and I think now that they've had a whole offseason to prepare for, all right, this is the offense we're going to run with Lamar Jackson. I think they're going to be running a lot more options, a lot more college-style plays.
So Jackson would be a QB1 top 12 quarterback week 1, you think?
Yeah, I'm thinking he'll be a QB1 for sure.
All right, what about Mark? Any of the running backs? Are you in on Mark Ingram, Justice Hill, any of those guys? Or
well, I'm not really quote-unquote in, but I think they're all right flex options if you really wanted to. I think because Lamar Jackson's going to be running so much, I think that hurts their value a little bit, and that's something I haven't mentioned on the pod yet. But Mark Ingram is someone who I think he'll have a good enough rushing week. He's probably going to get a touchdown in there, but I wouldn't imagine.
Yeah, he's a good bet to get a rushing touchdown week 1.
Yeah,
I don't know how many yards he'll get, but he's a good
around
bet.
50
they
yards,
get inside the
bet,
10-yard line. He's pretty big. He's a good bet to get a rushing touchdown.
Yeah, and I would bet they don't send in Lamar Jackson in there to get piled on.
Yeah.
So, got to keep him healthy. And all the receiving options, I don't know who they have a receiver. I know they have Marquise Brown, who's the rookie.
Yeah, they don't have a lot at the receiver position, put it this way. Willie Snead, Marquise Brown you talked about.
Yeah.
They just don't have a lot there. None of those guys I would not play any of the Ravens wide receivers. It's a wait and see game for them.
And Mark Andrews is also a wait and see guy. He's someone who I'm high on.
Well, he's someone who, if you're desperate at tight end and you don't want to start Austin Hooper, then you could start Andrews, right?
Yeah.
He's one of those guys where if you don't have a top 8 tight end, then you could start him.
Yeah.
We'll have to see if he becomes Lamar Jackson's go-to guy, being the tight end and also.
I hope so.
Are you interested in any Dolphins in this game? The Ravens have a good defense. Are you interested at all? Obviously not their quarterback situation. because we don't even know who's starting week 1.
They said Fitzpatrick is supposed to start week 1.
But even then, I'm still not interested because he might throw for yards, but he's going to throw picks.
Yeah,
And especially they added Earl Thomas on the Ravens. They got a good defense there. So
I'm not interested in.
Are you
Kenyon
interested
Drake.
in anyone?
Yeah, I can't think of it. I don't know.
Balaj,
I don't know who they have a receiver.
Devontae Parker, Kenny Stills, nothing there.
No, there's nothing there.
I think the only guy here with any appeal would be Kenyon Drake if he plays would be a flex appeal. If he plays.
Yeah.
Which I think last report I seen on Yahoo, and that was on Yahoo, says that he's probable for week 1. So if he plays, he's a flex play for me.
Okay.
But that's it. Nothing else on that offense. We can move on to the next game.
Yeah.
The Redskins at the Eagles.
Divisional rival.
It was broke that Case Keenum starts week 1 for the Redskins.
Yeah.
Not Haskins. So we can't see if Haskins is going to be a good fantasy quarterback yet. So Case Keenum's there. The journeyman starts. What's your opinions? You like Peterson, I know.
Yeah.
But do you like him week 1 at the Eagles?
I think he is an RB2 option this week.
RB2?
And you might, you're going to think I'm crazy. But I think, we still don't know what Darius Geis looks like. And I think it's going to start as a committee for at least the first half. But afterwards, I think, all it takes is one play for Adrian Peterson to find a hole. And he's just going to go off. And I know he's, 40, but
34.
Yeah.
34.
34.
I remember that. Looked that up last time.
Yeah. But I think he's someone who's going to have an unexpected big game against the Eagles. Eagles are a pretty good defense in their own right.
Yeah.
But I think if they allow Adrian Peterson to just get one hole, I think he's going to make the most of it.
My only concern with the Redskins running game, whether it's Geis or Peterson, who I would start either one at flex, I don't think I would start him as an RB2,
okay, is
if they get game scripted out, because the Eagles are just loaded. The Eagles are my pick to win that division, and I think they'll be really good. Okay. What happens when they get down 21-7 and, because teams panic. They do, especially week 1. Are they going to get game scripted out? Do you think it's a close game, or do you think this game's a blowout? Because if it's a blowout, that means they're not really running the ball that much.
I don't think it's a blowout. I don't think it's going to be 27-7 at the end of the game. I think it's going to be closer, like 20-24. Either direction.
You don't see either Geis or Peterson getting game scripted out because they're down by 3 scores.
No, and it's divisional rivals. They're going to care a lot more about this game than they will other games. So I think it's going to be closer than people imagine, and I think that Adrian Peterson's going to do better than people think.
Anyone on the Eagles offense? Obviously, I talked about I'm high on Miles Sanders, but to me, this is another guy like Montgomery. He's a rookie running back. Miles Sanders, to me, is nothing else but a flex play week 1 to see what you have. If you're counting on him to give you RB2 production, then you could be disappointed because although I'm not high on him, Jordan Howard is in that backfield.
Yeah.
He's a proven running back. To me, he's like a B running back. You know what you're getting. He can run the ball. He's bigger. He's not really injury concerned. So Jordan Howard could get 18 carries week 1, and that would not surprise me. So I would temper my expectations on Sanders for the beginning of the season. I just think he blows up at week 8, 9, 10. He starts taking over like Nick Chubb did last year.
Personally, I wouldn't start Miles Sanders anywhere because I'm not
even as a flex option.
No, because week 1, I think a lot of it's going to go to Jordan Howard. If Miles Sanders is able to get a big play,
is Howard a running back 2 for you, or is he a flex?
No. I wouldn't start Howard either because
I wouldn't even start him as a flex. You don't think?
Because I see, this is tough. I think being a fantasy guy is tough. So I think
we'll be coming back to you when you say no on Jordan Howard. He has 80 yards and a touchdown.
All right, I don't think he's gonna have it. I don't think
you're not interested in the Eagles' backfield week 1, is what you're saying.
Yeah, and I think you could start either of them at flex, but I think there's better options. There's better upside. At both positions. I can't imagine you're in that bad of a situation where you have to start one of those two. But if you are, then I think you could get a touchdown out of either one of them. I think it's going to
go to either one. So
yeah. And so I would wait until there's a clear number 1 option. A lot of people say it's Miles Sanders. Whether it be him or Jordan Howard, I think you should wait until there's a clear guy before you start either one of them.
To me, get into the receivers real quick. Alshon Jeffrey to me is a low-end wide receiver 2 flex option. Deshaun Jackson, who you have on your team, I talked about him earlier this year. I think he's a flex option every
Yeah.
week. But he's a boomer bust guy.
Right.
So you got to be comfortable with that.
You might get a flat zero out of him one
Yeah.
day.
But I like him going back to Philadelphia. I talked about this earlier. He goes back to the offense. Carson Wentz, upgrade at quarterback over what he's played with last couple of years. I like Jackson at flex, and obviously you start Zach Ertz. So.
And you would start, I would
Zach
start
Ertz
Carson
to start
Wentz.
every
Zach Ertz is to start every week.
So let's get into the Rams at the Panthers. The word came out that Cam Newton, obviously their head coach said he will play week 1. So
It still concerns
he
me.
will play week 1.
Okay.
It could be a concern for you. I'm just saying he will start week 1.
All right.
You're concerned with Cam Newton week 1?
I think Cam Newton, and we can, I think Cam Newton is someone who
You think he's injury prone now? Are you concerned with
I
that?
thought he was injury prone before this leg injury happened. And that's why I had him lower on the list compared to some of the other guys that I had above him. Cam Newton, I think, is going to have an all right week 1. It's the Rams defense. It's not, it's not the worst, but it's not, top 5 in my opinion. But it's still good enough to slow down a guy like Cam Newton. Still got Aaron Donald. I don't know if they really have an answer for him.
Nobody has an answer for Aaron Donald.
Great point. Never mind. So
would you start Cam Newton week 1, or would you be
I would start
trying
Cam
to get
Newton.
a safer option?
I would start Cam Newton week 1.
Like
I
this
think.
is just an example. If you have Cam Newton and you have Phillip Rivers, which one are you going week 1?
That's tough. Because
Phillip Rivers is obviously he's passing dependent because he only had like 1 rushing yard last year.
Yeah.
So you ain't getting nothing on the ground. Are you going with the safer option, or are you going with because Cam Newton could run for 60 yards?
I think Cam Newton's still going to be good enough to do QB1 numbers. I don't think of Phillip Rivers as a guy who can get QB1 numbers yet. They play the Colts this week. They have a good defense. So, I would start Cam Newton over a lot of these guys who are quote unquote safe. Just because I think the reward's bigger than the risk.
Yeah, you have to kind of take into consideration your roster. If you have a guy like Deshaun Jackson who's risky, you have guys on your team that are risky, Miles Sanders, then you may want to go safer. Because if they all have bad weeks, then you lose bad. So
and I think
McCaffrey's obviously a start.
Yeah,
we really don't need to talk about McCaffrey because if we need to talk about how good McCaffrey is, then you need to study up on your football because that's just not right. The wide receivers, to me, they're nothing but flex options. Samuel and DJ Moore are flex options.
I'm waiting to see which one of them gets more targets than the other. I think him, Greg Olsen, and Curtis Samuel, those 3 are going to be...
You just don't know what it looks like yet?
Yeah, I think they're all going to get equal targets. I think it's going to be boomer bust weeks for all 3 of them, seeing who has the hot hand, seeing who's just the best option that week.
Yeah.
Greg Olsen being the mainstay guy, I think he might get a little more targets, but I think they're just going to pass between DJ Moore and Curtis Samuel depending on who's open that play, right?
Yeah.
So I don't see any of them as premier options. I think they're both flex plays. Like you said.
What about, let's get into the Todd Gurley real quick. I mean, if you have Todd Gurley, you draft him, you're starting him, right? You're not sitting him. But would you temper your expectations?
Yeah, I got to see how many times he rushes. You're saying like he's going to get...
I say like 12 to 15.
12 to 15.
He was over 20 last year, touches-wise. I just think he goes down a little bit, but he still can produce.
He still can produce, and so I'm waiting to see how many rushes he have and what his yards per carry looks like mostly. Because touchdowns are probably going to go to Darrell Henderson.
You think so?
Darrell Henderson's a bigger guy than Gurley, isn't he?
Yeah, but just to me, I feel like those 12 to 15 touches, I feel like are going to come, inside the red zone. I feel like he'll be the goal line, or the first goal line back to get a chance. I'm not saying Henderson won't, but they still have Brown in that backfield.
Yeah.
And whatever he's worth, but I think Gurley is an RB2 to me.
So yeah,
he's an RB1 name, but he's an RB2 week 1.
I agree. And
Goff, I feel like is a starter. You talked about him on last week's podcast. He threw for almost 4,800 yards last year. That's elite. I feel like people just get this conception that he's just not great, but he's a B+ quarterback. He's good. He's really good actually, and I think he's a quarterback 1 week 1. I don't think there's.
I think
he's
concern. I think he's a good start. Panthers defense is average.
They're okay. I feel like the
Panthers
Panthers defense is better against the run than they are against the pass because they have Kuechly,
Yeah.
They have Thompson at linebackers. They signed Gerald McCoy. They have good front seven. I feel like their weakness is their secondary.
Yeah, I agree. And both the not all both
All
three
of the
of
wide
the receivers are good
starters.
options.
Yeah.
Yeah, in that offense. So I'm not worried about. I think all three of the wide receivers look like wide receiver 2 options, and then if Cooper Kupp stays healthy, he's wide receiver 2 option for me
Yeah,
too.
I feel like they're all wide receiver two
Yeah.
as options. So we'll go on to the Colts at the Chargers.
4 p.m.
I'm not starting Brissett week 1. I don't think he's a top 12 quarterback play. You would have to be in a weird flex play where you have 2 quarterbacks. We played one of those a while back, but
Okay.
he's not a starter for me. I would start Mac as a low end RB2. I start T.Y. Hilton as I would like him as a flex more than a wide receiver too, but it depends on your team. And I like Jack Doyle over Ebron week 1.
I don't know who to like at tight end for the Colts.
Well, I could just
personally.
talk about this one. Brissett he played 2017, but he
Yeah.
didn't really. He came in and played he didn't really have time to adjust to the offense, so it was just like throwing him in the fire. But his favorite target was Jack Doyle. So
Okay.
if you're looking for a tight end, maybe he's on the waiver wires. Maybe you can trade for him if you don't like your tight end. Jack Doyle is an okay option at tight end.
Yeah, especially for week 1 or for
What
as
are
long as
your
Brissett
thoughts? Are
plays.
you still starting Mack and Hilton, or are you?
I'm still
Are they
starting all
flex
them.
plays?
They're not flex plays. I think all these guys are still startable. If they do absolutely horrific, get you like 1.5 points.
Oy.
That just something's up, right?
Yeah.
So
If I got 1.5 points from Marlon Mack, I would be very upset.
very upset, especially because you have him ranked number 9.
Well, I dropped him, like I just said earlier, because Andrew Luck's gone. But
Yeah.
he's a low-end RB2 to me, and he's still a good player, and they
Okay.
should still be able to run the ball. What about the Chargers? You have Keenan Allen. Give me your thoughts on Allen week 1.
He's gonna do. You know what? The corners in
The Colts have a
Indianapolis,
decent
They have
defense.
a pretty decent defense, and I'm concerned that there is going to be like 1 or 2 options that they're going to be able to shut down. Whether it be
You think they
know,
focus on Allen, or do you think they?
I don't know if they focus on Allen or because I don't know what the defensive scheme looks like, but I think there's going if one of the options of Keenan Allen, Mike Williams,
Big
Hunter Henry,
Mike.
Big Mike, and Austin Eckler. I think one of those 4 is just gonna not produce so well, and I don't know who it is, but I think this is gonna be one of those games where it's like someone's gonna do well and someone's not. And you kinda have
But
to,
Allen's he's still a low end wide receiver 1,
I
high
see,
end
yeah,
wide
he's
receiver
still-
2. Maybe he doesn't get a touchdown week 1 is basically
Right.
what you're saying there.
yeah, and so I'm wondering if Hunter Henry and some of these other guys don't get as many receptions as they do because or as they should get because just because of the stingy passing defense from Indianapolis. So
And obviously we talked about Rivers. He's probably a high end quarterback too. You only start him if like say for instance like if you have a Kyler Murray and you're just you don't want to take that risk. If you have Cam Newton and you're just like what, I'm risk averse. I don't want to start him week 1 because maybe he gets hurt. I'm not confident. So Rivers to me is that high end quarterback too, where you can plug him in a week and he'll get you.
I agree.
He's not he won't get you anything on the running game, so that's the downside there. Bengals at Seahawks. Me and you are both high on Joe Mixon, and I think he's in for a good game.
I think he's going to have a good game, too. Seahawks defense is not what it once was.
It's a legion of no longer doom.
That's... No, all right, never mind.
That wasn't good?
No, a hard pass. I'm going to take a hard pass on that one. But
What about the Legion of Doom?
No, I don't think...
No, nothing?
I don't think... Seahawks defense is not as good as it
They're
once
still
was.
middle of the pack. They're always
not
going to be
terrible.
respectable because Pete Carroll's a good defensive guy, but I'm not scared. I used to be scared
Yeah.
of the Seattle defense. I'm not scared of them anymore.
I think Tyler Boyd, as high as I am on him, I think he...
I think he's a low end wide receiver too.
That's what I'm thinking.
I think he gets enough targets to he'll finish with a decent week.
Yeah, and you don't got to worry about AJ Green because he won't be
He
there.
won't play.
So,
Andy Dalton, not a starter
nope,
here.
nope.
Uh,
Joe Mixon's really the
Andy
only guy you
Dalton
can rely
is
on.
someone who like you pick up off waivers if your guy's on bye and you're looking and you just hopefully he gets you.
One guy's on bye, and
You're
one
just
guy's on
hoping he
injury
gets you
reserve.
an okay
Yeah.
week,
So, and he's not going to do that against the Seahawks.
So we're both high on Mixon RB1 week 1.
Yeah.
I have Boyd is a low-end wide receiver, too.
And I agree with you on
I don't
that.
really like anyone else on that offense week 1.
Neither do I.
The Seahawks, Wilson to me. I like Wilson. This is another situation where he's a lot better real-life quarterback than he is fantasy quarterback.
Yeah.
They don't let him open up and throw the ball like Aaron Rodgers, right? He's limited to 25, 30 throws a game. I think Chris Carson's in for a really good week. I think Penny you can start. I think you can start both those running backs.
Okay.
I think Carson's a high-end RB2 week 1. I think he gets 20 carries. Quote me on that. Come back to that. Penny can get 15 carries. I think the Seahawks will be leading in this game, and I think there'll be a lot of running in this game.
Is it going to be 50-50 between
No.
Penny and
From what I heard
from Carson?
From
and Penny?
Carson, I heard Carson's tearing it up. Like
Yeah.
his ADP
Well,
is rising.
I know.
Big
So
time.
I'm thinking Carson's going to be like a mid-level running back 2. I don't know if I'm starting Penny.
Maybe
At least not
overall,
yet.
but I think week 1, Chris Carson could sneak into the top 12 just from having a great week.
Okay.
I think he's a high-end RB2.
All right.
Penny, I think you start him as a low-end RB2. I think he gets enough volume to get you good rushing yards.
I'm not sure how much. I got to see the ratio between carries between them before I can say
Wilson
Penny's
to me
gonna
is.
start.
See, I like Wilson a lot more as a real-life quarterback than fantasy. Wilson to me is
I think
not
he's QB1
a
this
start.
week.
Not a start week 1 for me. Not a top 12. I think there's a lot of running in this game between the Bengals and the Seahawks. There's a lot of running. Could be a
Okay.
very boring game to watch. Not a lot of action.
Yeah.
What about Lockett? Obviously, me and you kind of talked about. Actually, I can speak for myself. I think Lockett 10 receiving touchdowns on about 55 catches last year. That's not sustainable. I would have Lockett to me. Lockett's a flex play. He's nothing more than flex.
Yeah, I'm with you on that because I think
A lot of people have him as like a wide receiver too. I'm like, no way. I would not have that. But
I
to
think
me, he's a flex.
for someone on my team, he'd be a wide receiver too. But I think
What does that say about you?
Robbie Anderson, I'm gonna need you to pick it up. That's all I'm saying. But I think Tyler Lockett does well enough to get a few catches here and there. I think Russell Wilson's a QB1. I
Okay.
think he's 11 or 12, but I don't think he's not gonna blow up because
Yeah.
I think your analysis of a lot of running in this game is gonna be
Yeah,
right.
it's going to be a lot of running. There's not much else here as
I
far
don't-
as
DK Metcalf won't play, or he will play, but he's not
You
gonna
think
do anything.
He's going to play week 1. I thought he was doubtful for week 1.
The last I'd seen is that he had surgery. But
So
he's,
if he does play, I mean, to me, this is a situation where you're talking about Montgomery and all these other guys. I just wouldn't start him week 1 because I don't know what I'm
wouldn't.
getting.
yeah,
So, I mean, I like Metcalf. He's definitely someone worth rostering. I just don't know what you're getting.
yeah.
Let's get through the the Giants at the Cowboys. Obviously, Barkley's a start. I'll just go quickly through this. Barkley, you know what you're getting.
Yeah.
I'm not starting Eli Manning.
Yep.
I don't like any wide. Shepard to me would be a flex option at best.
Ingram.
Ingram's a tight end 1, but tight end 1's not saying much because you could finish with a bad week and still be a tight end 1. I do
think
like
it's-
Ingram, but you could literally have a bad week. It's just so bad
Yeah.
at tight end. So when you say tight end 1, it's kind of a
I
little
think
bit
he's.
of
I think he's a top. He's a top 7 tight end for sure. I think.
All right, I'll quickly get into the Cowboys. We don't know about Elliott returning or not. If Tony Pollard is there starting, I would have Tony Pollard as a low-end RB2 just because he plays on a great offense.
Yeah.
And he'll get the volume. I rostered Gallup. I didn't draft him. I rostered him because everything you hear about him is he looks great.
Yeah.
And Amari Cooper has a foot problem. He has like a split in his foot. We talked about this. It's pain tolerance. He has to deal with it. So if he doesn't play week 1, Gallup is a nice play. He's like a low-end wide receiver 2, high flex option if
Yeah.
Cooper's not there. Even if Cooper's there, Gallup to me is a flex option, a
I
low
agree.
flex option. Cooper plays. He's a wide receiver 2 at best. What are your thoughts on these guys real quick, Garrett?
Pollard, I don't see as an RB2 yet. I think he's more of a flex option.
Even
just
if
because
Elliott's not there and he's a starter, you think he's more flex?
he's more flex option because I got to see exactly what his talent level is because I haven't paid attention to the Cowboys this preseason or in training camp, so I don't really know like what his talent looks like. And Dak Prescott against a bad Giants defense, I think is going to do enough to do
quarterback 1.
quarterback 1 numbers. So similar to Russell Wilson, will be in that 11, 12, maybe 13th spot.
But you'll still be happy with the week he gives you. Because even
Yeah.
if you finish 13, 14, that's not terrible.
If you have a guy like Josh Allen or one of these other, like Kyler Murray, I think Dak Prescott would be a safer option. Than
right,
some of
if
those
you're
guys.
if you're risk averse.
Yeah.
Because Murray could have a big week just because he's He's dynamic.
Lions.
He's a lot more dynamic than Dak Prescott is.
Yeah. So
You're not starting Eli Manning. Obviously, Daniel Jones isn't playing week
Yeah.
1, so
and then going back to the Cowboys, I don't know if I'm starting Gallup yet. I know I told you I agreed, but now thinking about it, I'm wondering if he
if it takes time for him to
if it
get
takes time
going.
for him, or if they throw to a guy like Cole Beasley's not on the team anymore.
They have Tavon Austin as their slot receiver.
What do you think about Jason Witten? You think he?
No. You're picking up Jason Witten. You're at the graveyard at 2 a.m. digging because that is just not an appealing option.
Oh my god!
I mean, if you're a PPR and you want 4 receptions, okay. Like
Yeah.
literally, if you are like it's between him and some other guy that I've never heard of, and I just want 4 catches, good for you.
Okay.
Because 4 catches is basically he'll get you a
His
floor.
ceiling, yeah.
But like I don't see him getting 8 catches, 100 yards, and a touchdown like Ingram could get or
Right.
Kelsey. He's just you're digging in the graveyard for that. Let's move on to the 49ers at Buccaneers. Would you start Tevin Coleman week 1?
I think Tevin Coleman's a good option to start week 1 for RB2, if not flex. I think Jimmy Garoppolo. I think this is a good kind of middle ground game for Jimmy Garoppolo just to see, is he really that bad? Or is
really that bad?
Or is he going to be a good enough quarterback for the offense? Because I think the Buccaneers, they're not a terrible defense, and they're not a great defense either, but they're middle of the pack. So if he's able to do well against Buccaneers, he'll be able to do well against a lot of these defenses across the league. And then going to wide receiver, I think George Kittle's a good option to start.
Tight end.
Yeah, every week. Well, I kind of group wide receiver tight ends, but yeah. And then when it comes to Dante Pettis or some of these other guys, I'm really curious about what on earth.
I would have Kittle as a high-end tight end week 1. I would have Garoppolo as a high-end quarterback 2. Maybe you start him if you really need to. He's got upside week 1. Upside is what I'm talking about. I like Coleman week 1. He's an RB2 for me. I just think he's kind of separated himself. McKinnon still nagging injuries.
Yeah.
Burrito's still in the backfield, but I think Coleman's the guy to start.
Especially in PPR, because I think he's going to get a lot of catches out of the
I
backfield.
think Burrito will get some work, but I just don't think. I think Coleman will get enough. He's kind of the guy there now.
Yeah.
I think he's established himself. There's not much else there. Pettis to me is at best a flex option. I don't like Deebo Samuel, and they don't really have anything else.
They don't. Yeah, they really don't.
To get in the Buccaneers, I like Winston, but obviously when you start Winston, he could throw 3 picks. But the positive with this, you say, how's there a positive with this? He's still going to throw the ball. They don't stop throwing the ball, right?
Yeah.
He could throw 3 picks and still be a QB1 week 1. That's just
Right.
how crazy it is. So the upside's there with Winston week 1. The 49ers, middle of the pack defense, nothing special.
I personally wouldn't start either Garoppolo or
Winston,
just because I think I got to see what they do. And I think if you have safer options or if you have better options that I think are going to do. If they have weaker defenses that your other quarterback is playing against.
Yeah, you got to look at matchups.
Yeah, I think, they both have the potential to do pretty good, but I got to see it before I truly believe it.
Right, Mike Evans, a start wide receiver 1.
No question.
He's probably a lock to be a wide receiver week 1. Godwin to me is a wide receiver 2 week 1 with upside, so he could get into the top 15, top 12. Tight end Cameron Brate. OJ Howard. What am I saying Cameron Brate for? This is 2016. OJ Howard. I like OJ Howard week 1.
Yeah.
I think this is, he's up my pick to be a breakout tight end this year. I like him week 1. He's a tight end 1 for me.
Do you think he gets a touchdown?
I don't know about. It's hard to project a guy who will finish the year with 7-8 touchdowns when he'll get his touchdowns.
Right.
I just think 70 yards receiving, so good for him. I don't like Ronald Jones or Peyton Barber.
Not yet.
Don't.
No.
I mean, you could take a flyer on them as a flex option, but I just don't love it.
I wouldn't start either of them.
And so, yeah, I'm just not high.
And they're
going to
see who runs with the hot hand. I think, and I mentioned this last week. If Ronald Jones ends up winning the job, great, but it's definitely not going to be anytime soon. And it's the same thing with Peyton Barber, so I wouldn't start either of them.
They're not attractive week 1 options
No,
for
they're
running
not.
back. Lions, Cardinals. I this is a matchup where I would start Stafford this week as a quarterback.
Really?
One.
Okay.
I just think the Cardinals are so bad. They don't have Patrick Peterson Patrick Peterson suspended. Their second cornerback, Robert Alford, suspended. Or not suspended, hurt, I mean.
Yeah.
They don't have anything. They have Chandler Jones and Terrell Suggs. That's it on defense. That's it. So I think Stafford could. I don't love Stafford. You already know my opinion. I think he's above average. He's a good quarterback, but
Good waiver wire play.
But for fantasy, I think you could start him week 1. I think
Okay.
he'll have a good week, and he'd be a lower end quarterback 8 to 12, but he's still a good play.
Okay.
If you're risk averse from Cam Newton, Jameis Winston, those guys, then you could start Stafford. He's a good.
I
week
think
1
he's
play.
more middle of the pack QB2. I don't think he's going to throw as much as people expect him to. The receiving options are great. I wasn't aware of the cornerback situation.
No, they're really weak on defense, and they lost their Pro Bowler to suspension and their other cornerback. So they're at their cornerback 3.
Yeah,
is starting,
so
I like
yeah, I
Galladay
think-
week 1.
So do I.
I think he could get a touchdown. It's like if I do like I head into a week and I look at players and I'm like, what are the chances they get in the end zone? Or is it
Yeah.
above 50% chance? I think Godwin. I think Galladay's above 50% chance he gets
Yeah.
a touchdown. Marvin Jones, to me, he's a flex option. Marvin Jones could boom. That's just the player
Yeah.
he is. He's a big, deep threat option. Hawkinson has looked good in preseason week 3. If you're so desperate at tight end, I'm not saying I would love the option, but if you're desperate enough, you could play him.
Hawkinson is upside.
Yeah, he has upside, so you could play him if you're so desperate.
Yeah.
Don't love Jesse James week 1.
Neither
I
do
love
I.
Kerryon Johnson. I just talked about their defense
Yeah.
is beat up. I think Kerryon Johnson, 100 yards and a touchdown is
Pretty reasonable.
pretty reasonable, yeah.
Yeah.
With upside. I don't love any other running backs on Detroit week 1.
And I don't buy in this idea that CJ Anderson's going to get goal line carries.
You know?
I gotta see it
Well,
before I
me and
believe
you
it.
will have to see week 1 what happens.
All right.
But you're high on Johnson week 1.
So yeah.
And I'll get into just real quick. Obviously, you're starting David Johnson. Just too good of
Yeah.
a player not to. Larry Fitzgerald, flex option. And Kyler Murray is a risky quarterback 1. Risky meaning
Yeah, I gotta
he
see.
could fail week 1.
Yeah, I think the Lions' defense. It's not great, but it's good enough to.
Well, they have a lot of good pieces now. Their defensive line is good. Obviously, they lost. We don't know if Davis is playing at linebacker and stuff, but they have Slay, they have Diggs, they have a good secondary.
Okay.
So they have a good. I think they're actually in that. If you do the 32 teams, they're in the top 16 defenses. They're in the top half of the league defensively.
So
All right, let's quickly get into the Steelers at Patriots. You already know
Primetime.
my opinion on Juju Smith-Schuster. Preseason, I texted you. I said Juju Smith-Schuster's on track for 16 catches a game and 4 touchdowns.
Yeah, because
Obviously, that's going to happen. No, but you already know my opinion on Schuster. He's my wide receiver 3.
Yeah.
He could lead the league and he could have 130 catches this year.
You think so?
I wouldn't predict that. I have like 110 catches, but I'm higher on Smith-Schuster. He's a great play week 1. Everyone
I
talks
agree.
about Stephon Gilmore. He's a great corner, but
You're not.
Stephon Gilmore, you're going to be chasing around in the slot. Good luck. James Conner, start week RB1.
Yeah.
Ben Roethlisberger, to me, is a QB1 just because this matchup's good. It's going to be a lot of passing. Or a lot of It's going to be a high-scoring game, was
Yeah.
what I mean.
I think he's a higher end QB2. I wouldn't start him, but I think if you're really desperate, you have the option of starting him.
I like James Washington as a flex. Moncrief is a flex. We don't know really who's going to
I wouldn't start either of them because I don't know who's going to peak
Well,
yet.
Washington has played good in the preseason. He'll
Yeah.
probably start week 1 as the wide receiver 2. So those guys are flex options. Vance McDonald, I like him. He's a lower end tight end 1.
Yeah.
Jalen Samuels and Benny Snell at the running back. They're not starters week 1.
Yeah.
The Patriots, I would start Tom Brady week 1. The Steelers have a good run defense. Michelle, depending on if it's PPR or standard, I like him more in standard than PPR.
Okay.
I like James White more in PPR than standard, so those guys are like flip-flop. I would have White as an RB2 low end in PPR, and
Yeah.
Michelle flip-flopped. He'd be an RB2 in standard.
I agree.
Josh Gordon, if he plays, would be a low end wide receiver 2.
He'd be a
And-
flex option for me.
Edelman, wide receiver 2, regardless PPR standard for me.
Yeah.
Tight end, there's not really much.
There
there.
is no tight- they have-
Watson, Hurt, Lacrosse. I don't love anything at tight
They
end.
don't have Martellus Bennett anymore, do they?
No.
No. He retired, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's not. We kind of got into that. Let's get into the Texans and Saints. I love 3 Texans this week. I like
Okay.
Watson,
Yep.
Hopkins, and I
Yep.
like Duke Johnson week
Yeah.
1. Duke Johnson more in PPR
Yeah.
because he's just gonna.
I think
get the
he's the established number 1 running back, especially after Lamar Miller got the ACL tear.
And we'll
So-
have to see what the Texans do because the word out is they're trying to get another running back, which they have to do because there's no one else really there. They have
Yeah.
a couple no-name guys that'll probably be special teams, but they need another guy there because Duke Johnson's not a guy that can have 350 touches. He's just not that big.
Okay.
I like Duke Johnson week 1. He's gonna have. I think he'll have a good week.
I think so too.
I think Watson's gonna have a good week, and Hopkins is bulletproof.
Yeah. And
Fuller will play week 1, but he's the guy who's he's like a Deshaun Jackson. You just hoping for that deep
yeah.
ball.
So
he's a flex to me.
option.
QT I heard is doubtful for week 1, but if he plays, he's a low end flex depending on your league depth and your roster.
Yeah.
The Saints obviously you love Michael Thomas.
I love Michael Thomas.
He's a
I love
starter.
Alvin Kamara.
Kamara's a starter. Drew Brees
This is-
QB1.
Yep.
Jared Cook to me is a tight end 1.
Yeah.
I think this could be a high scoring game.
I think they're both good offenses, both
This
good
is
enough
gonna,
defenses.
this probably be the game with the most fantasy points combined for both teams. Week
Okay,
1.
I could see that,
think
yeah.
that'll happen. Anything else here?
I
like Jared Cook, obviously.
Yeah, I think everything. I agree with most of what you mentioned. I don't see it being like a tough game to get fantasy
Yeah,
points from anyone.
there are going to be fantasy points to go around.
Yeah.
Let's get into the second Monday night game. If you're still awake by then, the Broncos and the Raiders. I'll actually probably be watching this game because it's Monday Night Football. And
Yeah.
I'll be watching. But what are your thoughts here? I would not start Joe Flacco. He's a quarterback 2 to me.
Yeah.
Not a starter. Emmanuel Sanders to me is a flex option at
Yeah.
best. Cortland Sutton a flex option at best. Philip Lindsay to me a low end RB2 flex option. Royce Freeman to me is a flex option. That's about it on
Not
the
a whole lot of
offense.
upside with the Broncos offense. Well, I think
Well, I
Cortland
think Sutton,
Sutton.
has upside.
Yeah, Sutton
and
has upside.
Sanders could go for 100 yards and a touchdown because he's just that type of player. And not projecting that, but
Right.
there's upside with Sanders as your flex option.
Yeah.
To get into the Raiders real quick, I like Josh Jacobs week 1.
So do
It's
I.
at home, so it's not like they're in Denver, high altitude. He gets
Yeah.
tired, whatever. Don't like is a bad. Derek Carr to me is a quarterback 2.
Yeah.
Antonio Brown, if he plays, he's a high-end wide receiver 2 for me.
Yeah.
I think the yardage will be there. And he's just too good of a player not to start as a wide receiver 2.
I hear you.
Tyrell Williams, flex option.
Yeah.
There's not much else there.
Who do they have a tight end?
They released Doug Martin, so
Yeah.
that even supports
Josh Jacobs.
Jacobs even more. Jalen Richard, not a big name player, but he's a flex option in PPR because he catches the ball.
Okay. I didn't know about Jalen Richard, but
Tight end, there's a guy named Darren Waller. That's how bad tight end is. The guy named Darren Waller. Right?
I have no
Nobody
idea who
knows
that is.
him.
Yeah. So don't start him.
This is not a very appealing game. I like Lindsey and Jacobs the best.
I like Jacobs.
And then
to
you're
get
kind
the
of just
numbers.
hoping a wide receiver. Well, obviously Brown, but you're hoping a wide receiver hits.
Yeah, and so I'm not really expecting a whole lot.
And Flacco and Carr are quarterback 2s for me.
Yeah.
I just think they won't finish in the top 12.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, that's it for the week 1 matchups. Next week's podcast, we'll probably dive into some sleeper plays, maybe some bust picks for week 1, obviously.
Yep.
And by the time our pod comes out, we'll probably talk about the Thursday night game, the
Yeah.
Packers and Bears. And then maybe there'll be some more news and notes as far as next week's pod. But
Yep. Thank you guys for listening. As always, check out the website in the description below. And
if you have any questions, you can send it to me or Garrett, or just direct message the Twitter feed or the Instagram page.
Yeah, and if you feel more comfortable doing email, there is an email option on
email, we're still living in the 80s.
Hey,
and
listen, we
90s?
got some old people that listen to this. Your dad listens, doesn't he?
Yeah,
I'm sorry,
email.
I didn't mean. He's gonna hear that. Thank you, that rotten kid. Yeah, thank you guys for listening as always. Thank you for all the support. Back in full effect with both of us. Hopefully we'll have both of us here next week to talk about some of the stuff that Nick mentioned. And we will see you all next time. Thanks, guys.
Yep.
Thanks for listening to the show, guys. Now, if you're on YouTube, I'm going to invite you to press the View More button in our description. Go to the bottom of the description and check out our social media sites. I'm on Twitter at Priti_fantasy. That's PRITI_fantasy. And Nick runs the Instagram on Primetime_fantasy. We're going to be posting a lot more now that the season is officially underway. So go make sure to check out those sites. And thanks for listening to the show, guys.